Right, so I've taken on this option of doing these cotter pin jigs. When I can find the drawing, there it is. Right, got this drawing doing the cotter pin jig. Now I'm going to do it a different way, because my way, when I look at this, you've got to drill and ream from either side. You've got to hit the centre of that spot on, so you get this gap right, and you get these spaces. Well, the gap's got to be right. The length of the spaces is irrelevant, because you trim them down to size. But if you don't get that gap on that centre line, it effectively can work, but you'll get different pulling forces, I'm assuming, on whatever shaft. So anyway, I decided to do it a different way, as you do, and I blocked up the first piece and dropped a bollock on it, because after I reamed the hole I thought it was a bit tight, and I put a slot drill down, and that is like the proverbial thing in a bucket as far as I'm concerned. Well, it is. So that's now a paperweight. So in good kind of engineering things, I made another one. Now I've also made, like what they've said, the spacers 3/4 of an inch at the moment. Now the size of this, again, as long as it's thick enough, as long as it's long enough and wide enough, it's irrelevant, because as long as you put that hole in relationship to where them are, those two holes, the dimensions you've got on the jig, I think they're just for you to work out. So anyway, what I've done is I've just blocked this up any old size, and the thickness is about 23mm. What I have done though, if you can see, is there's two little dots, centre dots on there, and two little centre dots there. That's for me to know that that face is going against the fixed jaw, and I'm going to clock up, I'm going to reference from this face and that face, and that's for my reference. I've roughly gone halfway. Now what I've done, I've worked out, obviously this one's going to be for an inch shaft for the right hand bracket, for actually for them there. So what I've done, the shaft's an inch, so from the centre line it's half an inch. Now I want material left on here, and I thought to myself, another 1/4 of an inch will do fine. That's enough material on here, enough wall thickness, things shouldn't distort. So I've got a centre line that comes down from this top 3/4 of an inch. That's for there, because these four spacers, sorry, are going to go in there and be bolted from this end. How they do it on this jig is you have a spacer in one end and the threaded end, the threaded spigot in the other end, and then you just bolt them together. Well, same kind of idea here. I'm going to have the threaded end in there, I'm going to have the spacer end there, and he says, looking round, this bolt will do. I'm going to have a bolt through there. Now that's all going to draw that down. What I need to establish is, if I'm having my centre line from the top 3/4 of an inch down, I need to have this gap 3/4 of an inch down. Now I don't think that's too far away for us to be able to do. On their jig here, they have a 16th gap. Now, considering you're making these to suit, I think once you've put them in, you get everything correct, you can then machine off these faces a 32nd on either side, because these are made to suit whatever they're going in anyway. If you look at this, for example, you put the threaded end in there, 3/4 of an inch, and that spacer in there, it's stuck out that much. So it's all made to suit. And if as you can see, I've already done this jig. This is a Blue Peter special. This is one I've made before, except for the big hole. I've drilled, then I've put a slot drill down, then I've reamered to approximately, we'll use 40mm. Whatever it turns out in metric, in imperial, I don't know yet, I'll work that out, but I've gone approximately 40mm down on either side. What I need to do now is these two spacers, and one of them has a little bit of black felt tip on it. I keep putting the camera on so I can see what I'm doing. So I know this one's going in this leg, this one's going in that leg. And what I've done, I've measured them, I've put them both in and used a depth mic and measured the drop. And I've got 5 thou difference. One's 5 thou higher than the other. So what I'm going to do is shave off 5 thou off the longer one. And the drop at the moment is 800 thou. I'm going to make sure I get these two right. I'm making sure these are bottoming out in here as well. Giving them a good tap to make sure they bottom out, so I'm not going to get any discrepancy. My idea is once I've got those two at an equal depth, I can either use the centre line I was going to, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Sorry about that, I've just been cutting some slabs up outside for the paving. While the weather's nice, you've got to get outside work done. Once I've got these established at the same depth, I could effectively then, use that as my centre line, as long as I think I've got enough material there. I want 750 thou. I think if I can get these both at 800 thou, then 800 thou is brilliant for me. That'll do. And all I need to do then is pitch down 800 thou. I know what size I've pitched across. I've roughly gone for the centre line, and then I've come back for these two holes, because we know the centre of these two holes for this particular jig. If we go off the first drawing they've used, and they gave you an example, and they told you the offset was 17.2mm. That's the same offset from the centre line. So knowing what I've done my centre line, the centre line I've called C, and then I can come back, I've got A and B for these two, which I've already machined. So I've had my centre line at 31.1. This is the second drawing. So 31.1 minus 17.2 give me 13.9 for that first hole. And then obviously 17.2 times 2, 34.4. I say this is all in metric, I'm afraid, at the moment. So 34.4 added on to the 13.9 gave me 48.3. So from this face, which is my reference face, if we put on there Z0, that'll do for me, I know where it is. I've got my pitching then, and I also know from there, the centre, like I say, because I've worked it out, it was that one, 17.2 gives me the centre from there. So if I can get these spacers to match up at 800 thou, then I can bring my centre down 800 thou. I know the centre line that way, and effectively these two spacers should be on the centre line. The threaded one will be on top. Like I say, the lengths at the moment, they're over length, but it's all irrelevant. As long as I get that centre line there, I can then trim off a 30-second, a 30-second, and that will give me then my gap. And as far as I'm concerned, that should work. So the next thing to do is to find out. Now I put the two spacers in there, and this was the first spacer I made that I'm not going to use. There's a bit of a podger, give it a bit of a ram, just to make sure it's seated, not too heavy, because I've got to try and get them out. And like I say, I've got felt tip marked on this one and on the spacer because they're relevant to each other. And I've depth marked, and I've got these 801 there, and that's my speaker turning itself off. I've got 80, just coming up for 803 on this one. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to knock this spacer out and take off 2 thou. Well, there's one out. We'll make sure that's got some marker on it, and get this one out. There we go. So I'm going to trim off 2 thou off this and try again. Right, obviously, what I was saying before, like a right bell end, I managed to shave off 2 thou off the wrong one. Because you make them shorter, you make that length longer. So I did it again. Well, what I did, I just shaved some off the other end, and I have now .807, just over 807, and just under 808. Now I do also realise that when I tighten these things up, I have tried to make them as flat bottom as possible. Before I put the 13mm reamer down, I flat bottomed it with a 1/2 inch slot drill, and I do know that there is a slight taper on the reamer, so they could stand off, they could tighten down when I put these things in. But that should establish my centre line now at, when I pick my pencil up, he says getting a bit more, we'll call it 807 thou, 807 thou. So that's going to be my depth down there. At 807 thou. Now what I'm going to do, it doesn't matter how long these are really, but I'm going to make sure that they're the same length. At the moment, what have I got? I think they're near enough. This is back in metric. 19.1617. Right, and I've got 19.11. So what I'm going to do is trim this one down. 19.17. I'm going to take off 0.067. I can't think, it's been a long day. 0.06. Take off 0.06 and see if I can get these the same length. Right, got these fastened up, put a bit of oil in there. I, yes, was lucky enough to tighten these two up. Put a spring washer in there. I was lucky enough, put my finger on them to cause enough tension and tighten them up, and they did bite. You might think they could do with being longer so you could hold them or thread them in a different way, but it's pretty similar to how they've got them there. So I'm going to measure this drop. Right, that is 100 minus 25 and another 25. That's what am I saying? 55, 56 thou. Yeah, that's about right. You always have to think back with depth mics. I've got 55 there. 55, 56 a thou. I don't think that's going to make much difference to me. So I've now established that with inside a thou, because those two threaded spigots are with inside a thou themselves in length, and the drop is the same, so my centre line should still approximately my 807 thou. It should be around about right for the centre of them two. So I've got my two dots there and there that are referenced off. So when I put this in the vise, I'm going to put this face against the hard jaw, and I'm going to pick up off this face. I'll be at a pitch across from the hard jaw of the vise for the dimension this way, and from this face I can pitch down, and I've got the centre of my hole I'm then going to drill. So we'll get on the mill and get it all clocked up. Now this is a bit of snobbery. I worked in a place a few years ago, and I was lucky enough to run a CNC, a basic CNC machine, and we did a lot of work, and I bought myself this. I will use wobblers and other edges, but I want to try and get this spot on. So I do actually like these things, and I am using this for this job. Obviously it calculates the diameter of the ball, so that's that one. Now I've just gone off, I actually referenced this before a couple of days ago, and I looked on there and I was 0.015 millimeters out, which is less than a thou, I think, so things may have moved, but anyway. Now obviously remember which way your backlash is. So I know I'm coming so far off there. I've not centered it yet, because I can't remember the sizes. And that's for X. I do like this. I can actually check with the wobbler and find out what the difference is, and I prefer some over others, but yeah, it wasn't cheap, but it is mine. I paid full whack for it, and when I left there it was coming with me. I wasn't going to leave it there for anybody else. Right, boring head setting. Let's get that there. Right, boring head setting. I don't know about anybody else, but I like to work in on these. It's throwing the weight out less, I suppose, the more you're going out. But anyway, you can notice pictures before I double checked after I'd done the drilling. I got my edge finder in again. I can't see the point for a couple of extra minutes just to check nothing's moved, and in Y I was 0.03 of a milli out, and in X it was 0.07 out according to the DRO. It's not a lot, but at least I've double checked and I know I'm back on the centres where I were before. So I'm just going to start nibbling this out now and get back to you when I get to a nominal size close to where I want to end up. Right, with the aid of the optical magnifying device, this is the final cut. It's the proverbial one, or bust. So we'll see how we go. Oh, and I have been stopping it last few cuts at the bottom so I don't get a swirl, and I'll be doing the same again. You can hear it just there as it picks up the two different types of material. Well, they shouldn't be really. They should both be mild steel. Well, one's free cutting. I'm assuming this is probably EM1A. Might be EM3, I don't know. Now I'm getting ready to stop it when it's finished its bore. Just now, because I don't want to swirl coming back up there. Right. Let's see how we've got on. You have to excuse hands, but there's no other way of doing this. I've got just over there. No, must have slipped. I've got 25.4241. Now that would put me about a thou up. 03, just over a thou. At least we've not got a scour mark down there. See if I can get this in before the 7% on my battery goes. Oh, yes. Come on. Right, now that feels a good finish. That was the same one I used in there. And sliding through there easy enough. Yeah, that to me is a pretty similar finish. So we'll see how we go from there. Well, this is on the shaft it's going on. I have a little bit, what I would consider a little bit of play. What it's going to feel like, I don't know. Measuring it. I'm actually getting 25.44, so I'm up a couple of thou with these, but we'll see how it feels because I'm now going to try and get these things out. And the thing is, I've got to remember is to keep the two sides with each other. So what I'm going to do is just get one side out first, and then I'm not mixing them up. But there you can see we've formed our arc. Let's see if we can get the other half out now. Well, it's moved. You can actually see in there. Ooh, it's moved a bit more. Yep. That's out. You can see there's the other one. So what I'm going to do now is take off the 32nd off each one of those, and I'll have to cut this down obviously for it to fit in that housing. I'll be back in a tick. Got the one with the thread in now. I'm just going to come up, touch the face, zero my DRO out, just taking off about 0.2 at a time. And of course this one has got to be cut down on the other end, and obviously I'd already worked out that size. Right, real-time assembly. Now for me, I don't think I've taken that too far down. Not if anyone can see in there, but I can feel it with my finger. So hang on a tick and I'll go and take some more off. Right, I've just taken off another 0.8 off the back there, so let's try it again. I want to make sure that these threads are clean as well. Yep. Right. Let's make sure that's clean. Now that, I can feel that now. Probably you can see in there, where I can feel it's just gone past. So suppose I want this thing on it. I think it goes that way. So excuse me while I'm go fiddle around trying to get it level. Try again. Right, that's in. Oops, trying to drop it. Right, so I can unscrew that. This, it should stick out quite a bit from the end because I've not trimmed it down. There you go. And it's sat in. But what I need to do now is sort a bolt out to cause a bit of pressure on that. So again, hang on. Right, as you know, the law of averages says when you're trying to find the wrong bolt, it's going to take you ages. That took about 10 minutes. Right. And then, of course, you want to find an Allen key, an Allen bolt, and you can't. So then you look for a one, and you can't find a spanner. Ooh. That's quite tight, that. Release it. See it moving round. I'll just give it a little nip. Oop, alright, maybe another little nip. Yeah, I hadn't even tied it up. There we go. Well, I must say, that's solid. That's, I don't know, less than a quarter of a turn. And I can't see any marks on there. If you look in there, you can just see a slight gap. I'm wondering whether it wants to be a bit bigger. Of course, what am I saying? The gap will appear when you undo that. It will be like that, as you can see. And as you tighten this up, they tighten up with each other. But yeah, see if we can get it back together. So that's finger tight, and you can actually feel it begin to nip already. So what, less than a quarter of a quarter, 8? Ooh, less than that. That's solid. Right, happy days. Right, I've just reassembled this with the spigot I used as a sacrificial plug, and I've just taken off about another 5 or 6 thou, no, 0.2, 8 thou on each side, and you can see I've now got a reasonable gap. You can see it in there. I don't know, I might have miscalculated before, but that is just going in. When I nip that up, that's tight. That's with my finger. Just loosen it off. And you can see I've got a reasonable gap there. Which, when you look, this is 1.6. It's at least a millimetre. And that to me seems to be working a lot better. Like I say, nip that up, and you're only doing a little bit of a turn. It says there, that's better. That's solid, that, and you're knocking it off there, and it's gone loose. I hope that's all in focus. But yeah, that I am now happy with. That's Saturday night. Like I say, good health if you're old enough, and then I'll review whether all this is actually worth it.